Hello, my beautiful people. How are we all? I paused there as if I was waiting for everybody to answer. That was a bit weird. Sorry. Daniel is also here. He is at his desk on the other side. And he's also in the comments. So yeah. We are discussing this. Kafka on the Shore. If you are here and you have not read this, please be aware that this is a discussion. So there will be many spoilers and many things about this book. So if you've not read it, then please don't watch this. I am warning you now. That is your warning regarding this book. I would also like to say that we're probably going to be talking about some topics that can be quite triggering for some people. So just be very aware that there is some sensitive topics that are in this book that we are probably going to touch on and discuss, and they might be quite difficult for some people to talk about or to process or to listen to. So I'm just putting all of this out there at the start just so everybody kind of knows how we all are gonna be. So yeah. Hey. You literally typed what I asked you to type. I asked Daniel to comment first just so people knew he was here. And I said type hey. And he did it.
I'm just not braving the cam just yet, but maybe eventually.
And Steph is here too. Hello, how are you, Steph? You've been really quiet. Are you okay? We'll just wait a couple of minutes and then we'll kind of get into it. But how's everyone feeling? How's 2024 for everyone? Because this is our first read for 2024. And then we'll get on with what everybody rated it, and then we'll start dissecting it and kind of see how we all feel. I'm stressed out. Got 3 uni exams coming up in the next 10 days. I knew there was a reason why you were quiet. Please don't be stressed. I'm saying this from being a person who gets stressed at the smallest of things. But I can give advice but not take it. But yeah, try not to get too stressed, and before you know it, it'll all be over and it'll be fine. And you'll just think, why was I so stressed about that? That is my advice for that. It might not be very helpful, but
it's got to be over eventually.
Exactly.
It's got to be over eventually.
So, can everyone hear Daniel okay? At the other side of the room.
I can always shout.
Yes, he can.
I can't remember the last time I prepped for any exams or anything like that. It's been so many years. It'll be hard to get back into it, I think.
Mine was my driving test, but yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
Are you not passed yet?
No.
No.
Do you know why? Because I get really anxious and I don't like doing tests. So, Steph, like I said, I can give advice, but I cannot take it. Yeah, by 4 p.m. on the 14th, it will be over for a wee while. Him talking is fine. Good. Right. Shall we get into this? I have a lot to say, and I actually only finished this book about half an hour ago. So my thoughts are a little bit scrambled on how I feel about the book because I've not really had time to sit and process it properly. So you're going to have to bear with me a little bit while we're going through it. But I have really mixed feelings and a lot of misunderstandings, and I feel a little bit stupid because there's a lot of it that I don't think I understand. So I'm really hoping that during this discussion we can figure it out together. But I did have a quick Google to kind of see what everybody thought of the ending and like what they thought everything meant. And I'm not the only one that seems to have that sort of bizarre, don't really know what I've just read sort of thing. It's okay. It's okay, Katie. I would fail my driving test if I tried. I did it twice. I've failed twice. And now I just don't drive. So
perseverance is key. I passed on my 5th time. Kept going. It does get a bit demoralising after a while, but it's just like anything. You just need to keep trying.
Yeah, not me.
And eventually it clicks.
Not me. I'm out. No more. I did get the same examiner twice as well, though, and he was not a nice man. Shall we say? So yeah. What did we rate it? Before we start getting into it, what did we rate it? I haven't actually given it a rating yet, so I want to see what everybody else is rating it. I have a rough rating, but I've not even put it on Goodreads yet because I'm just not 100% sure if I'm invested in that rating or not. So what did everybody rate it? I will see. Oh, I've got so much hair in my mouth today. I do apologise. I washed my hair not long ago and it's all gross. I rated it 4 stars in 2022. Really wish I reread it with you guys. I really wish you'd reread it too, because then that means I could have had someone to talk to along the way and remembered what I was actually talking about.
There was a couple of times where we did have kind of intermittent chats about it, and I might have been giving away things, or I'm terrible for sometimes remembering what happened when in a book. So if Katie says she's halfway through and I'm like, oh, so have you got to the bit where this happened? And you're like, no, I have not.
No.
So,
and he did that with Kafka as well.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed just the Japanese aspect of it, because like I said, it was my first kind of introduction into kind of sort of reading kind of novels and books kind of like that, and it was just something about the in-depth of nothingness that made sense of something. And it was more so once you've read the book, you then it's how you feel about it.
Yeah.
So I know at certain parts of it you weren't quite feeling it, but then you would hit another couple of chapters, and then it would kind of digest a little bit more, and you'd have a better kind of understanding or feeling about it.
Yeah. Steph, it was another one that didn't work for me. Think I would give it 2 stars, but I was confused listening to it. Yeah, join us in reading, Daniel. Yeah, I was confused reading it, Steph. So don't worry. If I listened to the audiobook, which I was so close to doing, because on Spotify, if you've got premium, you can listen to like 15 hours of audiobooks or something free for the month. Kafka was on there, and I got to like chapter 34, and I thought, you know what, I can't physically read this anymore. I'm just gonna go to the audiobook so that it can be over quicker. That was kind of my thought process, and then I thought I'm going to be even more confused than I already am, so I don't know. YouTube did the thing again. Is that when it didn't remind you that this was happening? But I felt the same as Steph. Very odd. Okay, well, I'm really glad that everybody kind of feels the same way, apart from Daniel. Daniel read a totally different book from us, I feel. But I'm kind of in between a 2.5 and a 3 star. Mainly down to the fact, like I was saying, I don't really understand what I've just read. And because I've not long finished it, I can't process what I've just read. And I don't think I'm ever going to be able to process it because there's so many bits that were left unanswered that I don't really understand. I had to Google what like the moral of the story was, because even that wasn't hugely clear to me. And I know that sounds a little bit silly, but it didn't really feel like I was 100% into it, you know? Yes, I've been waiting for like 30 minutes, take my eyes off the clock for 10 minutes, and YouTube didn't remind me, but I'm here. Well, we're just getting started anyway, so don't worry. Yeah, it got more and more confusing as it went on. I feel like this book could have been 300 pages. 300 pages would have basically been able to make this story a little bit better for me. I think the fact that it was like over 500 pages, the first part of the book, I was kind of a bit like, I don't really understand what's going on. I understand they're trying to build your character development and everything like that, so I was giving it a chance. Then kind of like the bit that happened that Daniel warned me about, and I knew I wasn't going to like the trigger part, I was like, nope, this is not going to be for me. When that happened, I was not happy, obviously. And the middle of the book, like after that, I was just kind of like, this is blah. This doesn't need to be here. I don't really understand why there's 200 pages of this nonsense. And then as everything was kind of tying up together at the end, I was just kind of a bit like, I don't care, is my honest sort of thing. I just didn't care. That doesn't sound silly to me. Nothing was clear at all. Has anyone like Googled it and had a little look at what they say online about like the premise of it and like the general theories around it? I was actually engaged for the first 40% or so. I was interested. Then it just got repetitive and boring. Then it just went really off the rails. I agree that middle bit could have been cut down. It did feel like it went off the rails. And I was saying this to Daniel earlier. I feel like certain parts in the book were just putting it for like a shock factor. I felt like some of the things, like I was talking about at the start, there's obviously going to be triggers and things that we're going to talk about because there is certain elements to this book that are quite triggering. I just didn't understand the purpose of why they needed to be in the book. I found that really strange that it was there, and like what the main character Kafka had to do, like what his dad told him he had to do. I found that really very strange. Like, why would your father ever tell you to go and sleep with your mother and your sister? Like, I mean, I maybe grew up a very sheltered life, but you know, that's generally not how things go. So that was quite bizarre for me. I did Google it. I found a study guide, but it honestly didn't help me much. I tried Googling it and felt like I read something different to how they explain it. I think I just really enjoyed the simplicity of both Kafka and Nakata with their own mental struggles and personal journeys. The context around the characters definitely became confusing, though. I had to Google it because I understood that the two, Nakata and Kafka, their two lives were both going on at the same time frame. Like, I understood that. I didn't, however, understand when Kafka's dad was killed and that whole Johnny Walker thing. Like, I understand the cat had to kill him. Like, I understand that. I got all of that side of it. Like, that bit was so graphic that, like, I got it. It was definitely plugged into my brain. But it said that his dad was famous, and that's why they were obviously looking for him, because Kafka was a runaway. And he'd run away from his dad, and he said it was because his dad wasn't a great man. But we don't really find out like why his dad was a great man. Could just be down to the fact that, like, he said there's a prophecy and you need to sleep with your mum and your sister. It could be down to that because, you know, but it just didn't make sense. Was his dad actually Johnny Walker and he was like a serial cat killer? Or was he just some random famous man, but Nakata thought that he was a cat killer? Like, there's a little bit there that I just don't understand. I feel like there's a puzzle that I'm looking at and there's like 14 missing pieces and I can't find them to figure out where to put them. That's kind of how Kafka's made me feel. I agree about the shocking things. It felt like it was going somewhere, but it just didn't. I just felt like it was there for shock value and it was just strange to me. I mean, the cat killing side of things with Johnny Walker and that, like, I understood, like, that's horrific. Like, you've got to be faced with something horrific to then be like, okay, well, if you don't want this to continue happening, you'll have to kill me. It's sort of like the balance of good and evil. Like, I understand that side of it. So even though I don't agree with that in a book, I understand why that was possibly in it. The further things that happened with his sister in the dream, I don't agree with that. And with Miss, how did you say her name? Was it
Sakura?
Sakura? Is that what? I don't know if there was an R in it.
Think, man.
Seiki? I don't know. I'm probably butchering this. But the lady that owned the library, and she played the Kafka on the Shore, and there was a whole picture and everything. That's who I'm talking about. So I'm not even going to attempt your name. I'm just going to pretend like we all know who I'm talking about. I have no idea, to be honest. You tell me anything about it, and I'd believe you. That's kind of how I feel about
Apparently,
it.
though, as well, if you haven't read any other Murakami books prior to this one, then it can leave you thinking a little bit or being a bit perplexed.
Well, I've heard that you've got to read another one.
Yeah.
For it to make sense. But I didn't know that when I read this. But you obviously read it and it made sense somewhat to you.
I don't think it made 100% sense. And I'm one of those people that when I'm reading and I try and not overthink things, I don't want to overthink a story. I want to just try and take what it's given me. And if by the end of it I don't understand it fully, I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm just going to take what I can from it, do a bit of further kind of researching on it, and then just see what else kind of clicks together.
Yeah.
And maybe do a reread. You know what I mean? That's why I kind of wish that I reread it. So then I would maybe have a different bit of a take or an input on it for just now?
I'm never rereading it. Ever. Seiki, I don't know how to pronounce it, and I feel bad because I'm just butchering it, so I apologise. Something like that. That will be our issue then. We are overthinkers. Yes, that is definitely probably why you loved it and we didn't. But yeah.
Because it was the same with How High We Go in the Dark. I just felt like you were overcomplicating it a
Daniel
little bit.
loved that book.
Well, I wouldn't say I loved it. I think I gave it 4 stars as well. But again, it's trying to. I think I'm terrible for wanting to give credit to authors. Like authors are putting so much work into books, and you know, I mean, you know how difficult it'd be if you wanted to go and create a book yourself right now. So it's trying to give credit and seeing the best parts in something, even if you're not kind of really getting the best parts, if that makes sense.
But I also don't want someone to waste their life and read 512 pages of something that they're going to hate. I wish I'd known that. The thing is, Daniel got me Kafka for my Christmas, not this year that's just passed, but the year before, because he had read it not long. Was it not long before Christmas or something that year you read it? 2022? Yeah, 2022. So he'd read it and then he was like, oh, I really want you to read it, but there's a bit in it you're not really going to like. And I was like, nope, not interested, not reading it, don't want to read it. And then lo and behold, it was one of my Christmas gifts. And that's why it kind of became a book club pick, because I thought I'm never, ever going to read this book unless it becomes a book club pick. So I thought we'll start the new year with one of Daniel's like books that he wants me to read and he's gifted me, and he enjoyed it, so I could potentially love it. And then that's not how it went. I only looked it up because I felt like I was missing something. Like the old guy was going from telling the police he killed someone, then suddenly he's in a truck out of town on a special mission. Yeah,
I just thought they didn't take him seriously.
Well, they didn't take him seriously, but it felt like there was a bit missing from that. So like he went into the police station and he said, "Look, I've killed someone, and tomorrow it's going to rain mackerel." And they just kind of laughed at him and like dismissed him.
Yeah.
But then how did he go from going into the police station and saying that to then being on a truck and going on this mission to go find the stone that he had to go and find? Like that wasn't clearly.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact.
That wasn't clearly put out there, so you didn't really feel like there wasn't a connection there. So there was like a connection that was missing. So it was like, went into the police station, they were like, ha ha ha, let him go. And then he was like, oh, well, I need to go hitchhiking, go on this journey. And it was like, why? How did you know what I mean? How did you know?
From his point of view, when he is conducting his thoughts, there's obviously no kind of train of thought as such. Everything is quite sporadic. So it feels like you're maybe going on that sporadic journey with him.
Yeah.
In the sense he's not going to have a clear mission in his head, because he's going to forget things, and he repeats that how much he forgets things, and his memory's not great, and whatever else. So I can't remember if at some parts during it that he also clocked off a bit and was like, oh yeah, I forgot what I was doing. Like, I'm on this mission.
No,
or
I don't.
Was just
no, I don't think so. I think he was quite sternly going through it. Like he knew what his purpose seemed to be, but we don't really know how he knew what his purpose was, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally get that, Daniel. I feel like 2 stars isn't a bad one for me, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you'll get that. It's, you know, I mean, you were halfway through it and you were like, I just don't think it's for me.
Yeah.
And you were trying to do what I do. You pick the good things from it, but if it's not for you, it's not for you. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah, I've spent most of today reading it, and it's.
But I did buy about another 5 Murakami books just so I can go on a further journey and see if I read another couple and then go back to Kafka, how much more sense it'll make or how I'll feel about it. So.
Well, I own Norwegian Wood, so that's March's pick, guys. Are you excited? I'm just kidding. It's absolutely not. No. No. And I was like, did I miss a chapter? Did my eyes glaze over? Yeah, I felt a lot like does everyone have this copy? I had to buy it on Kindle because the writing is just so tiny. And when writing's really small in a book, it kind of puts me off instantly, and I'm not really a fan. So this book didn't really have much hope, like from the start, really. Yeah, I don't feel like I can judge it as good or bad. It just wasn't for me. I'm the same. Like, I don't think that it's a bad book. I think that I just either I'm not in the right headspace to process what that is, or I'm just not one of those thinkers that can figure out what they're trying to deliver to us. He knew he had a mission, but we weren't told how he knew or what he knew. It wasn't a big deal, just one of the things I bumped on. Yeah, no, I agree. I don't feel like there was like the connection for that. He was just like, oh yes, and I was born for this mission. I suppose, but then we were no longer in his head, we were in his companion's head, and I missed it. Not gonna lie, that addition is also what drew me into the book. Love cats and love a black and red coordination.
It just looks so cool.
Don't get me wrong, I love the fact it's got a cat and a face on it. Like, did you know there was a face on it?
Yeah.
All right, okay. I do like it, and it's a nice looking book, and Murakami's books do look really nice, but I just don't like the words inside. I got the ebook and audio from my library and read it together, which did help me focus. The cover is amazing. Yeah, the cover is really nice. But I did buy it on Kindle as well because obviously it can make the writing a lot bigger, and I thought I was going to power through it a bit more. I feel like I did. I think if I was still reading it physically in paperback, I would not have finished it. But don't get me wrong, there was a lot of times during this week, because I've ended up quite slumpy reading this, there was a lot of times this week that I was like, I might have to DNF this book. And it is not something that I do very often, but I was like, I think it is coming to the time that I'm going to have to DNF it. And the only reason I did not DNF it is because it was for a book club, and I obviously wanted to be here and discuss it with you guys fully. So I pushed through, and I knew you guys would have read it and finished it as well. So I didn't want to let you down and not finish it. And then you guys had to go through all of that by yourself, because that would have sucked. Second cover preference would have been KFC Man, same colours, haha. Yeah.
That's the most confusing part, I think. In the
why was he the KFC Man? Like, I didn't really know who what was he called? Colonel No, he wasn't. He was like,
I can't remember. Conrad.
No, Colonel Sanders.
Colonel Sanders is the KFC Man.
Yeah.
Obviously referred to that in the book.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. But I didn't know who that was to start with. I just know him as the KFC Man. So I didn't have this picture of the KFC Man in my head when he started saying it. But the KFC Man, so he met the KFC Man, and then he was like, I got a girl. And he was like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, I've got a girl that you can, and then I'll take you to the stone. Say what? So, and he was like, whoa, man, you're just like some pimp. I'm looking for a stone. I'm not looking for that. And he was like, yeah, but you're looking for something. He's like, no, I'm just looking for a stone. But then he goes ahead and does it anyway. And then the man meets him at the bench, and then he shows him the shrine where the stone is. What?
Self-discovery.
Bizarre. Lol. I did soft DNF at around 75% and picked it back up today to finish it because I didn't want to DNF again, but it was a struggle. I completely agree. Yep, I contemplated DNFing around 5 hours and decided I had but that time, and so would try power through. Oh, I'm glad that we all felt that way and we all powered through, because it would have been really bad if I was sitting here and saying, guys, I DNF'd it at like 40%. Speak amongst yourselves. That would not have been good. That whole section was way too odd. Yeah, it really didn't make sense to me. And I think, was he like a ghost or something as well? He wasn't even like a real being, and he had just taken the being of the KFC Man. Did no one else see the KFC Man though? Like, other people must, like, if I saw the KFC Man walking down the street, I'd be like, oh, it's the KFC Man. Like, nobody else. There wasn't a lot of, like, outside of the main characters, there wasn't a lot of like people around, it seemed. Like, did you you probably might not remember, but
not massively. If you just take like the library situation.
Yeah, the library was KFC Man. But the library was the only place there was only kind of like people outside of the characters. There generally wasn't really, like, we never really saw the police or anything like that.
I can't remember when the book was written. I'm sure it was a fair while ago, but the fact that it's kind of got touching notes on other communities as well, like the person at the library who was transgender.
Yeah.
And I know that probably would have been frowned upon at some parts of that time of writing, and the fact that was still kind of in there, and it's in some of his other books as well, some other stuff.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, well, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Nowadays, especially.
Definitely. And I think it was really nice when that character that you're talking about's brother came to pick up Kafka from the cabin at the end, and he had said oh, my brother doesn't generally trust anyone. And he went, oh, my brother's sister, but I call him my brother. And I was like, it's really nice that there's that acceptance in the family and they seem really close, because obviously the time that this, as Daniel said, was written, and also where they're growing up in sort of that time area as well, I'd imagine that that wouldn't have been something that was as accepted into the community as obviously it should be. But I think it was really good to have that in the book, because I just thought that was so sweet to see their relationship and to see how loving he was towards his brother and how accepting he was of his life choice. And it was just so nice, because sometimes in books it's not that way. So it was just, with all the odd weird things that were going on, it was nice to have a little heartwarming moment that actually made sense. um he was some sort of spirit. He kept saying he was like not a god, not a man, so I figured he wasn't interacting with anyone else.
I was just saying that, I'm just reading up a little bit now, and apparently a lot of the inspiration was taken from the Greek myth Oedipus.
mm.
So if you kind of know a little bit more about that, then I suppose you could get a better understanding as well of the story.
I did see that when I was googling it, but I don't know anything about that.
That's our research tonight.
Yeah, we're not reading that book for a book club either.
2002 is when Kafka was written.
Okay, 2002. So that's still a fair amount of time ago. Yeah, I was surprised by how all right that was handled, considering some of the other weirdness in the book regarding sex and incest. Yeah, there. Let's just go for all the points that were there. So we had incest. We had slaying of cats, and that, by the way, was really graphic. Daniel, when he read it, said that it was only a couple of pages. It was more than a couple of pages, and I said that to him after I read it. I was like, that was about 8 or 9 pages, and I did not need that. Why the cat I took till the 4th cat, by the way, before he killed Johnny Walker. I would have killed that man way before it got there. I'd have been like, you'd taken the cat out of the bag and be like, okay, bye.
When they said that there was not cats in the freezer.
Yes.
Like their heads and stuff.
It was awful.
Yeah.
And then there was when he had sex with his sister through the dream, when he was having sex with a librarian in her 15-year-old form and then her 50-year-old form.
See, I didn't think it was his sister that he in the dream. I thought it was that friend that gave her number, and then
yeah,
he
but
was staying
is
at hers.
that his sister though? Because she says near the end when he phones her and he says, I'm going back to Tokyo, she goes, I'll need your number, being your sister. I'm sure it said that. Am I wrong? Sure. I'm never going to be able to find this.
Because obviously the fact that the prophecy was that he'd have to sleep with his mum and his sister, that's what obviously drove him away in the first place. So the fact that he would then go to, what was it, Takamatsu, and then kind of fulfill that accidentally. I mean, obviously I know that's how a prophecy kind of works. You can't really evade it, but...
Yeah, so she says, goodbye, Kafka. I have to get back to work, but if you ever want to talk, just call me, okay? And he says, goodbye, I say, sister, I add. I'm sure there was a bit where she says something about sister as well, so I could be wrong. I'm not too bothered by animal death in books usually, but that was very graphic and shocking to me. I agree. I thought it was implied she was the sister. Yeah, I think at the end it kind of was meant to make it out that she was the sister. But the weird thing is she mentions that she had a dream about him, and he obviously had a dream about her, which was not a nice dream. Well, to him it was a nice dream, but like to us reading it as the reader, it was not a nice dream. But when she mentioned it, I thought she was going to be like, why did you do that? Like that she understood that worlds crossed over. Yeah, it was a bit weird. Yeah, he does call her sister in the last chapter at the end of that phone call. Yeah.
So he was worried that it might be his sister. Like, I'm sure there was parts where he was a bit worried because it wasn't sure.
Yeah, but he also clicked that the woman at the library could be his mum, and then he still had fantasies about his mum. So I don't know. It was very strange. And then what did we all think of like how they were kind of all tying it up at the end? So everyone just started dying off. So the lady that owned the library, Miss Nakata went to go see him, and then like he just disappeared. Like they closed the door and they were speaking, and then he was gone. So she had passed away, and then Nakata then died, and then Kafka then went into the woods at the cabin, went and met the soldiers, and they took him to this like camp type place. And then he met the owner of the library there, and she was basically like, I want you to still be alive. Like, you can't be here. The portal type thing is still open. You need to go back. But when you go back, I want you to have the picture of Kafka on the shore. Like, that's my last, like, wish. Like, what did everybody else think of that? Like, I was starting to get interested in the story again when that was kind of all happening, because I was like, oh, this might all make sense. And this whole confusing slog that I've just had to go through will make sense. I mean, I felt like I was traveling to Middle Earth all the way through this book. I just felt like I was walking and walking and walking. What did you think of that bit, Daniel?
What was actually massively
Daniel wasn't listening.
I got no wallet.
I was saying the bit at the end when all the characters start like passing away, and then he goes to like that cabin at the woods, and then he meets the soldiers, and he goes into like this little bit, and she's there cooking him food, and she's like, I want you to go back. I want you to live. Like, this is not your time to be here. It was kind of like an in-between place. I don't know. Was it an in-between place?
Honestly, not 100% sure. I can't recall too much of that part, to be honest. I definitely wish I reread it.
I think I was just over it by that point, to be honest. I was just like, sure, this might as well happen. Yeah, I think I had checked out by then. Okay. Well, this sounds like it has been a favourite of everyone's. Just joking. But I mean, we did it. We've just knocked out over a 500-page book for the start of the year, which is quite good. Feel like it's been a slight waste, but it hasn't. Overall, we all seem to think it is a good book, but it was just very confusing, and there's a lot of questions unanswered, which is how I kind of feel on it. I am going to have to look up a little bit more and kind of try and figure out what was going on. I did see that there was a bit that was saying, let me see if I can find it, that they were explaining what the main message, like the whole point of Kafka was. So Murakami describes the shore in Kafka on the Shore as the border between the conscious and unconscious minds. So it's a story of two different worlds, consciousness and unconsciousness. Most of us are living in those two worlds with one foot in one or the other, and all of us are living on the borderline. Once I read that, a few little pieces slotted together, and I was like, that kind of makes sense, because that's how one person's over here and one person's over here. But it still didn't clear up everything fully. But I don't know if that's helped anyone knowing that little tidbit of information. I really enjoyed that first 40%. If it just ended there, 4 stars. I definitely, like I said earlier, think that book should have been a little bit smaller. It's not put me off reading any more of Murakami's work, but I don't think I will be running to go and pick up Norwegian Wood, which is the only other one that I own. And I'd be surprised if I willingly go and buy other books by them. But you're kind of collecting them. Now, you got a really cool German edition that was like green. We were in a charity shop and I was like, oh, it's Murakami. And what is it? Is it
84?
1984 is George Orwell.
Not bad.
Is it IQ82 or something? I can't remember, but it's a really nice edition. So if you're looking for nicely looking edition books to put on your bookshelf and never read, IQ84.
1Q84.
1Q84.
Which has probably got another meaning kind of behind that.
Oh, probably. But you'll read it and never know. Well, you're not going to read that one because it's German.
What? I know, but I got the
Oh, you got the English
Yeah,
version
I got
as
the
well.
English version of it as well. But even just reading that little bit there, the novel is a story of a woman named Aomani. Aomami. It begins to notice strange changes occurring in the world. So it just everything is just from Murakami about kind of perception on the world, self kind of
Yeah.
realizations and surrealism kind of around that as well. So again, like the main messaging of the books intrigues me, regardless if I feel that I'm actually going to get into the proper feeling and knowledge of what he wants to put across.
I feel like these books are really clever. I just feel like maybe the way in which it's written made me a bit bored. So then I kind of stopped caring about the concept. I think that's a fair thing to say. I feel the same way with Stephen King. Like a lot of people obviously love Stephen King books,
Yeah.
but they're so descriptive and so long that everyone that I've read, I'm not massively excited about them.
I think you get more annoyed the fact that people put Stephen King into a horror genre and you don't always see it as horror. You know what I mean? Based on your viewing experiences and reading
Yeah,
experiences,
just because I
you just
don't find them
anything
scary.
kind of scary. Maybe
Yeah.
more chilling, I suppose.
No.
I know I love Stephen King.
Daniel and I usually are not too bad when it comes to books.
Yeah.
Like if you read something, you'll generally like you've loved all the recommendations that I've given you so far.
Yep. Blake Crouch being the best.
Yep. I know there's not fans of Blake Crouch here.
That's fine.
But it's not fine. You're wrong. No, I'm joking. Everybody is.
As well. Yeah, Matt Haig.
Yeah. What was that Midnight Library?
Kind of authors nowadays, but I mean, I only started my proper reading journey 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I was only reading maybe 2 or 3 books a year.
And now look at him. He's a machine.
And then punting out quite a lot now.
Yeah, now we're running out of places to have books in the house because when I'm filming in the living room, all those books behind me are actually Daniel's books. Because I've kind of accidentally, well, not accidentally, I'd already taken over this room with books before Daniel moved in. So, yeah, here we are. I think Daniel will read it before you. Daniel will definitely read it before me. 100%. If one is recommended to me, I may consider it, but otherwise, I don't think they're for me. Like I said, I'm not totally put off by them. I'm not going to say I'm never going to read this author ever again. I just didn't get it. It wasn't for me. I don't think it was a bad book. I just don't think I was thinking properly when I was reading it. And also, another factor is Crescent City came, and all I want to do is read that, and Murakami just became a chore. And I just didn't want to read that. I just want to read Crescent City 3. And that's what I'm going to be reading next. I know you guys probably are not that interested in Crescent City. But I am very excited to get to that. And I'm hoping that I'm now not in a total slump and I'm not going to be able to enjoy that because that will make me incredibly sad. But I'm hoping it's going to bring me out of the slump. But yeah. How is everyone feeling about next month's book? Hopefully we have a winner for next month's book. I feel like we've had a lot of duds recently, which has not been good.
Whose choice is it next?
It was going to be Steph's choice, but Steph couldn't think of anything, so we've done In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. So Steph, you are still next for picking a choice. And if you don't pick a choice, I just end up picking things like Kafka on the Shore, and then we all hate it. Fingers crossed for your good one. Definitely. I do like how we've all got very similar reading tastes, though. Apart from Notes on an Execution, we were very torn with, well, I was the only one in the room that loved that book. But yeah, we generally have very similar sort of things. But I would say during these discussions, I usually have more idea of what the book I've just read is about. But I'll be honest, I don't feel that way this time. But I think it's because we're all feeling the same. Lol. I'm hopeful that it's a better one next time. Oh no, I'm not sure what to suggest. Well, you've got until, what's the date today? I want to try and put the book club picks out sort of the third week of the month before we're reading it, just so people have time to kind of get them and stuff, or generally maybe halfway through the month, like the month before, because I know that obviously library holds and stuff are a thing. So yeah, Steph, if you can have a think, But no pressure. If you can't think of anything, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, I don't think that's a you problem. Definitely the book's weirdness. Yeah. So I'm hoping In My Dreams I Hold a Knife is good. From what I've read of what it's about, I'm quite excited. If you don't have a copy yet and you've got Kindle Unlimited, it's actually on Kindle Unlimited. I think it's still on Kindle Unlimited anyway, which is always a boost. Not sure if you can get in the library or not, but I think everybody's libraries are all different anyway. But does anyone else have anything else they would like to discuss? Or is everybody just happy to put Kafka back on the shelf? Just like this.
No, I think if anyone does have, or if they research anything and finds any interesting kind of deciphers on Kafka, then pop it into the book club chat.
Yeah, I feel like
And we can maybe
I'm going to be looking up sort of theories and things regarding this book, so I probably will post that into the book discussion, because like I said, I only finished it just before the live, so I've not really had time to properly digest it or look into things and kind of see what's going on with my thoughts and feelings on it. So I probably will try and break it down a little bit, and if I find anything useful, I will let you guys know, and we can always still discuss it when we're not even on the live. But
don't overthink it.
I don't know. With this comment, I'm not sure. Yep, let's forget that ever happened and on to the next book. That's fair enough.
Well, you know what? You've read it, and for that, I thank you.
Yep.
That's what true love is all about.
Yes.
So.
And we all read it together. So yes. Well.
I did see that one you're doing next, though, in the works for like £3, so I may just pick it up, and then I can read that with you.
Well,
that I'm up for reading anything, regardless if I feel like I will like it or not. I'm still up for it. I don't see it as a waste of time like you do for some books.
I don't see it as a waste of time. It's just
there's so many books to be read,
and I don't have time for bad ones. You've always
taught me that you need to choose wisely.
Yes.
And you don't want to waste your time, but at the same time, it's time well spent if it's up for discussion. And
but the cool thing is, even if we hate a book, we all come together once a month and discuss why we dislike things, and it's good in that kind of way.
Because we feel a lot better now as well, that after we've kind of read it, that you don't need to get and understand everything straight away to enjoy something or to not enjoy something. And then these kind of things allow everyone to come together and either feel the same or help each other out. So,
and I think what makes a good book as well is a book that kind of stays with you and you think about it a lot. Yeah. And I feel like this book, I am actually going to think about it a lot, and it's going to stick with me due to the weirdness. So it could potentially, like, I've not put a rating on Goodreads because I just haven't decided yet. But I think maybe over time, I might think of that and think, oh, do you know what? I get it. I think that might happen. It might not. But I think over time, just once I've digested it and kind of read a little bit more about it and sort of seen what everybody else is thinking, I'd be like, oh, actually, that was quite good. But I'm not at that stage yet, so...
But it's also good to challenge yourself on things that you don't really enjoy. Like you did, there were so many aspects of it when I pre-warned you that you were like, I probably won't enjoy that, but you still went ahead with it. And I want to do that, and one book I want to do that with is Clockwork Orange. But it's not something that I really, really want to read. I started watching it, and then there was a bit in it that I just was like, no, I just can't watch this. And I don't know.
If you can read Cockney slang, you'll be okay, but I can't. So I got 20 pages into that about 10 years ago, and I've never went back to it because I can't. Apples and pears. Does that mean up the stairs?
Yeah, or just stairs. Up or down.
Yeah. So yeah.
I got my geezer.
Yeah. It's still on Kindle Unlimited or C99. If you don't, if people have more insight, I will read, but I might not have anything smart to say about it. Don't worry. I feel like I had nothing smart to say about this book.
We're not professionals.
Exactly.
We're just people that like to read.
100%. Yeah, apples and pears are stairs. Cool. Well, on that note, I am going to say farewell.
And I'm going for a Barry White.
Daniel.
I'm only kidding, I'm not. I was just adding in some Cockney slang.
I was like, what is that? And I was like, oh, that's disgusting. I can't edit that out.
I didn't say anything bad.
But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this live. Maybe next time Daniel might come on to the live. I mean, he's half here, half not. I should have maybe
Yes.
put a mirror so we could just see him. But yeah, I hope you guys all have a nice month. I am going to try and be a bit more active in the Discord because I am terrible in the Discord. But for the next couple of days, I will be devouring Crescent City 3. So I will not be starting the book club pick until closer to the end of the month. But I will not be leaving it as late as I did this time round because that was not good. But yes, farewell. Have a good evening. Have a good month. Right, I will see you all next time. Have a nice time.
See you
Speak to you
later.
soon. Bye.